My name is Sandy Fonzo. I am a physical therapist assistant living in northeastern Pennsylvania in a small coal mining town of Luzerne County called Wilkes-Barre. A small town where, because there was no oversight and because for-profit incarceration is legal in our country, a select number of politicians, judges, and their cronies were able to become so powerful and had such control that corruption ran rampant for nearly 7 years before they were caught and stopped. But not before they ruined the lives of over 6,000 juveniles and their families and totally devastating mine. In August of 2003, we stood with our 17-year-old son with his whole beautiful life in front of him before the now disgraced juvenile judge, Mark Ciavarella. His charged drug paraphernalia. He was caught at an underage drinking party with a marijuana pipe. We sought help from the community. Ed was acting out, experimenting, pushing the limits as teenagers often do, but Ed had such a bright future. It was his senior year of high school. His final wrestling season. Wrestling was his life. He wrestled since the age of 4. He was expected to take the state title. He would be the first in the history of his high school to earn that title. He would have a scholarship to anywhere in the country. This was his dream. I couldn't let him take these kind of chances. That day, before standing before the judge, I expected my son to receive a type of community service or educational program to teach him what type of behavior, to teach him this type of behavior could lead to. Just a little scare to get him back on track. Ed was a smart boy. A little nudge was all that he needed. But what we or the community were not aware of is that prior to our encounter with the judge, a whole series of events had taken place that would lead us to stand before him, even with such a minor offense and without counsel. We had no chance. There was an approximate $500 price tag on our children's heads once incarcerated. A lousy $500 was what my son's life was worth to that judge. Ed was ripped from our home, from his sense of self and well-being. Our then President Judge Michael Conahan had our county-run juvenile detention center shut down, and he and his cronies, a wealthy attorney and a well-known land developer, built their own privately run and operated detention centers. He then appointed his lifelong friend, Judge Mark Ciavarella, as juvenile judge, and saw to it that any juvenile matter was funneled before him, no matter how minor. The rate of juveniles taken from their homes and incarcerated for minor offenses skyrocketed. They kept these for-profit juvenile detention centers filled and made millions, hiding it away and living the lifestyle of the rich and famous while our children's futures were being destroyed. My family, our children, and community endured the effects of this corruption, this hell, for 7 years before they were stopped. These former judges are now serving lengthy prison sentences, others a slap on the wrist, still others have not been sentenced. My son came home almost 6 months later. He never got to graduate. He never wrestled again or had the chance at the state title or a scholarship. He was shackled and cuffed, a happy, free-spirited boy, and came home a bitter, resentful man, pent up with anger. He would never be able to fully recover from the trauma he endured. And after years of inner turmoil, he ended his pain. My son shot himself through the heart at the age of 23. This did not have to be. My son should have been in school, not a for-profit detention center. Changes have come as a result of this tragedy. There will now be oversight. We will no longer tolerate this type of corruption, but true change. Unless we can end this type of privatization, this type of tragedy will continue to happen all over our country. When human lives are the market in a business to make a profit, it can only lead to devastation. These former judges are absolute proof that this idea cannot and does not work. We need to make sure that no one, and especially our children, ever have to be the means of profit for a slick businessman again. In honor and memory of my son, Edward Raymond Kenskoski III, I thank you for hearing me and I beg you for your action.